More than 1 billion people are living and working with disabilities globally today. As demand continues to grow for accessibility within the workplace, the interest in tools and advanced accessibility capabilities is rising. Is your travel program ready? Hello, I'm Harper Lieblich, Vice President of Product at Deem. It's great to be here today to honor such an important day of the year, World Accessibility Day. I'm here now with accessibility expert and CEO Debra Ruh and Alexa Buffum, our Director of Product Management at Deem. It's great to have you both here.
Thank you, Harper.
Thank you.
All right, so first question I wanted to ask you both, what does accessibility mean both from the perspective of websites and also physical locations? And I'm curious, especially when it comes to travel, what does accessibility mean? Alexa, you have a lot of experience working with accessibility within the context of interactive apps. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you. So I would say, given that we're a travel company, accessibility for us is a really broad category. So it encompasses things like making sure our website and our mobile apps are accessible, but also how do we help people who have disabilities travel more easily? So that could be everything from using voiceover in an app or a screen reader to things like, can you select an ADA compliant hotel room at this hotel? Or can you get wheelchair accessibility to get on and off the plane? So it's really a super broad spectrum for us. And we're trying to hit kind of all aspects of that, both with our digital products and then with the actual travel experience for that user.
And Debra, you're an expert in accessibility across the board. I know that one of the big challenges that we talk about a lot is accessibility in the supply or in the actual content when we talk about a travel management program. What does that mean for travelers out in the world?
Well, first of all, I really, really appreciate how Deem has made accessibility part of your process. That is something every single brand needs to do, but in travel, it's essential because the reality as we get older, more of us travel and we want to travel. But as we get older, we also start acquiring disabilities. I know once I turned 40, I started having problems seeing. But I think you bring up just such a really good point, Harper, because the reality is also, this is about making sure that all of your benefits are fully accessible. So if you're a large corporation and your benefits, including your travel, or I've got to do my travel expense report, or all of the different things that come with travel, including making sure you're accommodating your employees with disabilities that want to travel. So it's as Alexa said, it's a big word and it's a moving word with a lot of different pieces, from physical accessibility to digital accessibility and all of the moving parts at the same time. So I think travel accessibility is one of our most important conversations that we're not having. We're not having it, and I applaud y'all for having this.
Debra, I want to learn a little bit more about what that actually means out in the real world. When a traveler with a disability encounters a problem, either while they're flying or staying at a hotel or getting even ground transportation, what is the effect or what is the impact on them when there aren't good accessibility options?
Well, think about anytime any of us have traveled and you've run into a problem. I remember traveling to a foreign country and the hotel that I was supposed to go to was not the one that I had actually made the reservation in. So it can be really scary being in any travel situation where things go wrong. But if you're a person with a disability and you're traveling and say that your wheelchair gets damaged, which happens all the time, or you get to the hotel and the ADA room, if they even know what an ADA room is, or an accessible room, has been given to somebody else. I know so many people that want to travel. They're eager to travel. They have the money to travel, but they're afraid to travel because of all of the moving accessibility parts. And so that's why we need so bad for the industry to understand, like Alexa had said earlier in question one, once again, there's so many moving parts, but okay, it's too complicated. We can't do this. But the reality is we have been doing this as travel. If you think about like Disney, everyone is welcome to have the magic, right? So the reality is the travel industry has been doing this in some ways better than other industries. Another quick example is the cruise industry. They want everybody to cruise. And so once again, we need leaders in the travel industry like Deem saying, wait a minute, no, this is part of what we're going to do. We're going to make it private. We're going to make sure we have security, but we're also going to make sure all the guests that travel get to, travel where they're going to. They can move around and, really have an accessible travel experience.
So you're saying we know how to solve this problem.
We really do.
Willpower.
Yeah. We need some leadership, which I believe you are showing, and I applaud that. I really applaud that.
So, Debra, we've been hearing from a lot of folks that their companies are starting to set more aggressive diversity, equity, and inclusion goals, as well as environmental, social, and governance goals. And I always have to double check those. But I wanted to hear a little bit about how accessibility fits into those kinds of goals when companies are setting them.
Yeah, and I agree. There's so many different acronyms, but companies should also be looking at the Sustainable Development Goals that the United Nations has created. And it's very interesting when you talk about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, because often when I hear that term used, we're not including people with disabilities, even though people with disabilities are the largest of all of the minority groups and they go across all of the other groups. We say that women are the largest minority group, but that's not true. There are actually more women in the world than men. But women are just treated like a minority group. That's a whole nother issue. But then we look at all the intersections, women with disabilities, women that are part of the LGBT community. But I see a lot of corporations really wanting to prove that they're not the bad players. They're good companies. Yes, we do want you to work for us. And we mentioned the Great Resignation, but all of these things happening. I wrote a book in 2018 called Inclusion Branding, where I was really talking to a corporation about the need to show us that you care about our world, right? We have corporate digital responsibility. We have corporate social responsibility. But what does that even mean? And so one way that you can tell, especially the younger generations, because they really care, we know that they care about these issues. One thing you can do is you can show them that you do care about DEI and you're including the intersections of DEI, the disability, equity, and inclusion. And by the way, you can't do that if you're not talking about accessibility, because if your systems, your technology, they're not fully accessible, well, it's ridiculous. Are you not going to consider privacy and security? Well, accessibility is one of those, because humans have to be able to use your technology. So it is a very complicated issue, which is why I really encourage the corporate brands to work with the providers that understand the complexity of this, like what you're doing with Deem. You've made this part of your DNA. But not all companies have. And I know that often when you're trying to lead these conversations, the other travel leaders, maybe they don't want to hear it, right? Because it's too hard. No, it's not. By the way, it's really hard, Harper, to make sure your systems are fully secure and private. But I don't care. Do it. Well, it's the same thing with accessibility. So I'm really impressed when I see leaders like Deem really understanding this is not a nice to have. This is not it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for the technology and for your customers. So I think there's a lot of opportunities here, but we need to look towards leaders like Deem that are already doing it.